The 1993 Giants are a team to remember, but they didn't even make the playoffs. How is that? Well, at the time there was no such thing as a wild card, so you had to win your division to make it to the playoffs. In 1994, the MLB introduced the wild card, and so the 93 season would be the last season with the divisional outline. The Giants didn't have high hopes, even after signing this one guy named Barry Bonds, who came from the Pirates in the offseason and would end up being one of the best players ever. They were also still holding on to Will Clark, who the season before batted .300 and was an all-star, and Matt Williams, who on the other hand didn't have a great season with .227 average and a .286 on-base percentage. Their starting pitching was the main worry, consisting of Bill Swift, John Burkett, Trevor Wilson, and Bud Black. Most of these names you have never heard of. They ended up being one of the best starting rotations in the league with an average ERA of 3.40, and their bullpen was also reliable with a 3.73 ERA. At the start of the season, they performed better than anyone would have expected, and at the end of May, they were at a record of 33 wins, 18 losses, 5 games ahead of the Braves. The reason I mention the Braves is because they are the only other competitive team in the NL West to the Giants all year. The Braves, before the 93 season, were expected to be the best in the division, and their roster backs this up. Their offensive core held Ron Gant, who would put up all-star caliber numbers with 36 homers and an .854 OPS. Jeff Blauser and Dave Justice also had stellar years, where they combined for 55 homers and were all-stars, but the most impressive thing about this team was their pitching. It consisted of John Smoltz, Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, Steve Avery, and Pete Smith. Their starting pitching average ERA was 3.23, and their bullpen was one of the best in the league with an average ERA of 3.0. Tom Glavine was an all-star in the 93 season with a 3.2 ERA and 120 strikeouts. Greg Maddux had a 2.36 ERA and 197 strikeouts. Throughout the season, these two teams were the only competitors in the National League West. The National League West consisted of the Rockies, Reds, Dodgers, Padres, Astros, Giants, and Braves at the time. First, let's just go over the fact that the Braves and the Reds were in the NL West. Let that sink in. But now, onto the season, the Giants were off to a way better start than the Braves. At the end of June, the Giants had a record of 52 wins, 27 losses, and the Braves had a record of 44 wins, 34 losses. 8 games behind the Giants. This season is very relatable to the 2021 season, where the Giants kept their foot on the gas pedal and the Dodgers stayed with them. Well, the Giants stayed on the gas pedal the whole season, but the Braves kept with them and never let back. The Giants held a consistent lead on the Braves the entire year, but when the fall came, the Giants started to fall behind and the Braves started to rise. On September 6th, the Giants had a record of 89 wins, 48 losses, and the Braves had a record of 86 wins, 52 losses. But after that day, things would change. The Giants would go on to lose 8 games in a row, and the Braves would win 8 of their next 9 games, putting the Braves 5 games ahead of the Giants only after 10 days. Going into the last series, the Giants managed to come back and win 12 of their next 14 games and tied with the Braves with 101 wins each going into the last series of the season. Giants playing their rivals, the Dodgers, and the Braves playing the Rockies, who were both out of the playoffs. The first games, the Giants beat the Dodgers 8-7, and the Braves beat the Rockies 7-4. With the Giants and the Braves still tied with 102 wins apiece, they had 2 games left. The next game for the Giants, they barely came away with a 5-3 win against Orel Hershiser and the Dodgers. As for the Braves, they came away with an uncontested 10-1 win. Now on to the magic number game, 162 total. If one team wins and one team loses, they don't have to go to the playoff. But if they both win or both lose, then it would come down to a playoff between 2 103-win teams. The Braves had one of their best pitchers on the mound, with Tom Glavine, who went 6.2 innings, allowing 3 runs, but their bullpen came in and didn't allow any more runs. As for their offense, they scored 2 runs in the 3rd and 2 more runs in the 4th, and an insurance run in the 7th thanks to a big day at the plate from Ron Gant. The Braves had guaranteed another game either in the playoffs or against the Giants. The Giants were doing more of a bullpen game, with their starting pitcher allowing 3 runs in 3.1 innings. Then everything kept going downhill for the Giants after that, allowing 5 runs in the next 3 innings to make it 7-1. Going into the 8th, and to wrap things up, the inning score for the Giants' last game of their historic season was a heartbreaking 12-1 loss to the Dodgers to send the 104-win Braves to the playoffs and the 103-win Giants home. This phenomenon is one of the reasons MLB put in a wild card, so situations like this won't happen again. A team with 103 wins misses the playoffs. It's pretty convenient that the wild card was put in 1 year after this, so of course the worst scenario actually happened. This is the story of the 1993 Giants. Thanks for watching and consider subscribing.